Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude Beyond Mystic, and welcome to today's Beyond Crypto Roundtable. With me, of course, is the lovely Lisa. You can find her work at Litecoin Lisa here on YouTube and also on her Patreon at patreon.com, Litecoin Lisa. Lisa, welcome back to the show. Happy New Year. How are you?
Happy New Year. I'm here. We made it.
We're here. We made it. Yes. I guess we made it. Also,
Yes.
Mr. Bix Weir, you can find his work at roadtoruta.com and also here at Road to Ruta on YouTube. Bix, Happy New Year. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm wearing pink to lighten the load a little bit today on our deep discussion.
I see you're sporting the Litecoin Lisa cap, and inversely, Lisa is wearing the Road to Ruta cap. There you go. I love
I'm
you
a
guys.
fan. Yeah.
Big fans, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on this live interactive show. We are triple casting, guys, so we are still on YouTube here today. We're going to try to behave. We're also simulcasting to Twitter and to Rumble, so we're giving you all of the options there, guys. And yes, we're going to have an amazing conversation today about everything crypto, gold and silver, and this latest push for CBDC. Before I do that, I want to share with you guys a few of the news items I was tracking this week for this conversation. First, if you haven't seen the episode, Are You Ready for 2024 with Sean James, please do go and check it out. And yes, do not be a useless man. If you check the episode, you'll know why we're talking about that. Of course, we were decoding the Leave the World Behind episode. So in terms of news, what's interesting to me this week, of course, is this suggestion here by Google that a sensitive event is just around the corner and that they have to change the rules and regulations on how they can curate our worldview. So I think that's very interesting here to set the stage for the conversation we're going to have today. If you haven't seen this interview here also on SGT Report, the control system is collapsing. We're going to get into that, of course, here today. And finally, yes, the spot Bitcoin ETF was authorized, but then not authorized, but then authorized. So we'll get into the shenanigans and the chaos at the SEC and how that relates to our world here moving forward for crypto, but for Bitcoin specifically. And yes, the final countdown to the CBDCs. This was on Zero Hedge a couple of days ago. And we saw Christine Lagarde also suggesting that we needed to accelerate the CBDCs here. Otherwise, the central banks would lose their relevancy. And I thought that was kind of funny as a statement. But we'll get into more of that as we go into the show. Debt-saddled customers. Yes, of course, the reality of our world and also the massive money printing here accelerating as debt soars. We're going to put all of that together for you guys and have a conversation. If we have time, we'll take some questions also from the live audience today. Bix, let me start with you here. In terms of the system collapse and this interview on SGT Report, you guys can go check out the episode here. But what would be your takeaway here for the audience members who haven't seen the episode?
Well, Sean and I have been talking about this since I think we did our first interview in 2010. So 14 years, and the Road to Ruta story has not changed. There's going to be no, prosperity funds. There's going to be no CBDC, no GESRA, no NESRA. All that stuff takes deciders and trusted third parties. We're not going to have any of those. By the time those are needed, we're not going to have any of them. It's kind of the same thing about the CBDC. They're talking about CBDC. If they just layer on top a CBDC, on top of what we have, that's hyperinflationary, right? You're just adding another currency to another currency to another currency.
Right.
And CBDC does not necessarily have to be a bad thing. If you have open source software, you have limited number of currency that you can make. If you have immutable blockchains, just like Bitcoin, everybody would accept that. But these guys aren't going to do that type of thing. They're not using a CBDC to say, hey, this is a great new thing. We're going to use it. They're using it to say, hey, our old system is falling apart. We can control them more with the CBDC. So let's put that in where we don't fix the number of coins. We don't make it an open source software, and we don't make it an immutable blockchain where you can change anything you want at any time you want. Then it's ridiculous. That's what they already have. I don't know why everybody's freaking out. They already have that now. We are literally running a CBDC based on electronic US dollars. They can turn off anybody's bank account they want. I know JP Morgan shut mine off. So yes, there are things to freak out about, and that might be a trigger point, but it's not going to be necessarily that it's the CBDC. That's more of a trigger point to say, okay, now watch our freedoms and see if they're trying to take any more. That's what we got to fight.
Mhm.
We got to fight to keep our freedoms, because they're just inch by inch, they're pulling them away.
Inch by inch, yes, and suddenly, all of a sudden, Lisa, first of all, welcome back to the show. I really
Thanks.
enjoyed the last time you were on the show here, and I'm excited to have you back on here and to bring your perspective and your research on the crypto front, but also just generally speaking, your pulse and your view of how our world is changing. Speak about that here going into 2024. We're already halfway through the month of January. It feels like there's been 4 months
Yeah.
of news already, and just
It does. It definitely follows Cliff High's data and his information that, months or weeks of information or news would come out at days at a time. I'm of course leaning a lot on Bix's information over the years, and personally some of our conversations as well. So my perspective is a little bit skewed from that. He really is the godfather of red pilling our family personally, and so I don't know. Even in the last few weeks, I've kind of turned a corner, and I'm kind of at a different place. So I don't know that I want to share all of that right now, but I do feel like just from even Bix's last statement that we were already there. I was listening to another interview with Tori Says and Alpha Warrior, and Bix's words were in my head. The digital system was already there. So many people, good Christian people, were like, I would never let them put a chip in my hand. I would never let them put a chip in my hand, as they're texting that on their phone that's in their hand. I think so much of this happened to us, to good people, we the people. I love my country. I love we the people. I love the people of our country. But I think we have been, like JFK said, by, how does he say it? By inversion, how did he say it? By, what's the word? Darn it. I'm a terrible quoter, but not by invasion, but by them. I'm sorry, what did you say, Bix?
The subversion.
Thank you. And here we are on MLK Day, and we look at some of the great leaders in our country that tried to fight for freedom, that tried to fight for getting us out of the slavery system, the debt slavery, any form of money, any form of counterfeiting a human's energy is a form of slavery.
Mhm.
And that's where that has been so heavy on my heart. And I can go down many rabbit holes with that.
Okay,
So.
we have some time here to have a beautiful conversation with you guys today. But first, yes, Jenny says proof of pants. I think that's from one of our very first crypto
old school.
roundtables.
Proof of pants.
That was funny.
Proof of
That was
pants.
funny.
I have pants.
As Lisa is talking.
Mine.
Yeah, as Lisa talks about JFK here, if you haven't seen the Decode episode I did with Jay Widener on his brand new documentary JFKX, guys, go check it out. Really, really cool. Worth the episode, of course, and worth the documentary. I think it's $1.99. You guys can go check that out.
And support these other truthers that are in the community that are doing the work. That's how we turn the ship. That's how they talk about in the revolution, 3% or 10% or whatever percent you want. The majority of followers are followers, and they're going to follow the leaders. So as you find these leaders in the community, you don't have to believe, or the idea is that we all trust ourselves, like Westwood says on Fridays. Follow us at happy hour, come join us. But the idea is that you find somebody that truth resonates with them, and then support what they're doing. If it's paying, what is it, $1.50 or something to watch his movie and support his work, go support his work. Follow Jay Widener, support his work, share it with somebody. If you share something with one other person, then you're doing the work too. And that's how we turn the ship, and that's how we get out of this mess. Because ultimately the followers will follow if the leaders show up. and the
Right.
leaders are there to do the work. So
That's a great point. And, you know, for the longest time, I've saw people make comments when you said, "Oh, I don't want to have a chip in my hand," yet they're texting using a chip in their hand.
they don't
It's like the
realize it.
people who say, "Well, I don't want to pay to have the truth." I'm like, you're paying every day to have people lie to you with cable TV. So it's kind of like you got to support the people who are trying at least. Sometimes we get it wrong, but at least we're trying to get you the truth, and we're not beholden by these government authorities dictating what can and cannot be said online. I'll be careful there because we're still on YouTube, so
Right.
we'll move away from that subject for a moment.
Sometimes
But
we have
I
to pay
wanted to ask,
too.
right, I want to ask both of you how you're feeling and how you're dealing as we just entered what Cliff High had coined as being hyper novelty. If you remember, he had picked the date of April 3rd of 2024 for I believe he said in general April would be the awakened people would feel it, but some of us would start feeling it earlier, like in January of 2024, and then the masses would feel that hyper novelty probably by June, July of 2024. So I have to admit I've been feeling it already. I think both of you have also been struggling, I think, with this rapidly changing worldview. You mentioned, Lisa, that in the last couple of weeks too, you're really trying to rejig, I guess, or understand where we're at, where we're going. And you talked about the truth and people who are working on the truth. Like, what is the truth? I'm finding that it's getting more and more difficult to ascertain what the truth is. And I'm trying to understand also the relationships in our lives. I saw this interview with Brett Weinstein and Heather just last week, and they were talking about that too, how they're exhausted now of being so paranoid that everybody's lying to us, right? Because we've caught them over and over and again here. And now we're starting to think, well, we've lost people in our circles of friends and families because of the last couple of years also. And we're just trying to find a new foothold into this new reality of ours. So I think that's part of this hyper novelty where everything is new. But at the same time, because it's all new, we don't have maybe yet all the tools we need to find our way and all that, to use discernment
That's
and
the
to understand.
lie.
And it's stressing the hell out of me. Anyways, for me, it's a lack of sleep. I was just telling that to Bix before we went on live. I find myself tossing and turning, thinking about these things and trying to readjust. So I want to ask you both how you're dealing now into these first couple of weeks of hyper novelty, and share that with the audience members so that they too maybe can have better capacity to hold on to something here and to grasp into these new reality plates that we're walking on here moving into 2024. Lisa, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I definitely am struggling. Poor Bix gets emails at 1, 2 a.m., whatever. So he with tons of questions and links and please help me. And Uncle Cliff is so kind to tell me to drink turmeric and milk and hold it lightly. And I really value their input and, and all the love that they send me. It means a lot to me to have that, soul fam and have those people care enough to tell me, Lisa, turn it off. It'll be there tomorrow, all of that kind of stuff. But I was also listening to you, JC, and some of the things you said, I feel like we don't have the tools. And I go back to the Wizard of Oz, which is some of the universe is telling us all the things that we need to have. And we've always had it. We always had the silver shoes. It wasn't red shoes. That was Hollywood lying to us. Yes, they've always been trying to deceive us, but we've always had what we needed. And that was to trust ourselves. So in a lot of forms, they understood that in slavery, the biggest thing that they needed to control the population was knowledge. And if you look across slavery in different forms, whatever, and in religions or belief cultures, they found out that, like, oh, if we can get them to doubt themselves, or keep knowledge from them. If you think about the known slavery forms, what did they try to do? They kept knowledge. Well, don't get them to read, don't let them educate themselves, then you can control the population better. Then you look at, oh, well, if we can tie it to religion and get them to even doubt themselves and question their morals, ask us for permission for their morals, they don't even get to trust themselves. They have to come to a third party to find out if it's what is right and wrong, who it is to trust. They can't go to God, the source, whatever directly. You need a third party, which is actually that's blasphemy on its face in itself, is that golden calf, if you want to talk about it that way. But it's so everybody, we all have the ability to go to the source, to trust ourselves, to have the knowledge if we choose it and if we trust ourselves. And that's what they're trying to keep us from, is the knowledge. They're trying to tell us that it's magic, it's bad, you're bad. If you try to have the knowledge that they have, you're less than, you don't deserve it, they do. That we shouldn't connect with each other and be empowered in love and have freedom. That's what they're trying to stop. And that's what we've always had it. But we've been told that it's wrong, bad, that we need to ask permission, and free men and women don't ask permission, and we need to trust ourselves. And that's how we will be free and stop putting our energy and our trust and our value in some third party.
Right. The discernment part is important, because when you wake up, that the first thing you do is stop going outside for external validation because of those people lying to you, and you recognizing that, but then you start developing the inner guidance and all that. And now, so for the people who've been awake 10 years, 20 years, or 40 years, like Clef High, that process has been attenuated by the number of years. But what we're seeing now with the audience members is they're going through that process in a very short period of time to exclude all the external validation and to go within. And that's what I meant about maybe they don't have all the reflexes yet. Maybe they're stressed out about that. They don't have the success stories to give them confidence in themselves yet. And even me too. And I'm putting myself in there too, because the rate of change right now is so fast that I keep having to ping myself internally, as I was just pinging for something else and pinging for something else.
That's why I go to trusted people that in my fam too, that I when I'm having those hard times.
Right. And no, it helps to have people in your circle that can support you for sure. But Bix, talk about that too, the entry here into 2024, some of your sleepless nights, and this ability of ours, or this necessity of ours now, to deal with this hyper novelty, and how we navigate through all this rate of change and cognitive dissonance load. What would you say?
I would say the only way to get through it that I have understood is to get your ass kicked 500 times so that you're numb to it. And that's where I am. This is my 25th year fighting the silver and gold fight. And yeah, a lot of times when Lisa texts me this stuff about, this is happening and this is happening, I'm like, I've heard that 10 times in the last 25 years.
Right.
And if it happens, great. But there's nothing that you can do to make it happen. And the most likely thing, if other people are involved, the most likely thing is it's not going to happen. If other people are not involved, that's where we have the real potential for change. And I think that's why back in the late 90s, they deregulated all derivatives. Alan Greenspan and Larry Summers and Robert Rubin were the ones who did it. Greenspan did it for his reason. The other guys did it so the bankers could make more and more money. And if you know what happens in banking, I was in banking for 25 years. If you know what happens in banking, if they get it wrong, they'll bet. They're big gamblers. They're going to bet on everything. If they get it wrong, really wrong, they get bailed out. We don't get bailed out when we get it wrong. I mean, how many times have we lost our asses in cryptos? Yeah. And then, if you're a hodler, you lose your ass and then you come back. And here I am, what was it, about 13, 14 years into the crypto world. And yeah, we've done well. But that doesn't mean we lost our shit when our cryptos went down 95% and some of them went away. And it's like, you're scrambling to make back. If I had only sold, and then it goes up again. It really does. It takes experience to survive these days. And I went off sleeping pills. I was on sleeping pills for a while, not like heavy sleeping pills. Like, what's that shit called?
Ambien or
no. It wasn't that type of sleeping pills. It was like Benadryl.
Oh, okay.
Oh. And that it just helped me sleep a little bit. But what it did is it affected my dreams. And I'm kind of like Snippy. I'll have very vivid dreams, but I'm not like Snippy in that I'm not trying to analyze the dream. My dreams point me in a certain direction to do the work, to do the research, to find out, okay, I woke up the other day. I'm like, damn, what's going on with silver and solar panels? I didn't even know solar was so big. And all of a sudden I spent 3 months diving into the solar world and find out the biggest consumer of silver on the planet right now is solar power. And it every year is doubling and tripling. So, I mean, that's that. If you want to, understand what straw can break the camel's back of our financial system, it's silver. And what is the biggest driver in silver right now, besides the lack of supply because all the miners can't get any more? It is the solar consumption. These panels are going in for 25, 30 years and they're not coming out.
Right.
Even, maybe at $2,000, $3,000 silver, it might make some sense to start recycling. But without that, it's insane to melt down a gigantic power to solar panels to get 6, 7, 10, 20 grams of silver out of these panels, out of each cell. So yeah, to me, it's like, what keeps you up at night? It really is. You have to go through it so many times to kind of sit back and advise your friends, because a lot of our crypto friends who just started in the last bull run, they're like pulling their hair out. It's been 2 years and I should have sold when it went to XYZ.
Right.
So that's kind of where I am, and I'm excited about the future. I wear pink shirts all the time now, and I don't think the bad guys are going to win this battle. I know they are not. I think humanity is going to win. So that's my vote, and that's what I'm going to keep fighting for.
When you first started answering, I thought you were going to say, well, my solution to everything is to drink some nice California Cabernet Sauvignon.
No, Pinot Noir, my friend. Pinot Noir.
Pinot Noir. Oh, I love Pinot Noir. Well, there's good Pinot Noir, and then there's most of them are not good.
Oh my God, we make the best in the world. The best in the world.
You got to send me a bottle. All right, let's get into this here too. So going back to this sensitive event that Google is predicting here, and with all these algo changes, in an email from Cliff, I think last week, he was suggesting that 81 value on the emotional release scale that he had predicted in the summer. We hit that first tranche of that with the events in the Middle East, and then we hit another tranche of that maybe at the end of December. And that it appears that this last tranche, this 81, could be hit sometime around February 17 per his last run. Bix, go ahead.
From all the, everybody and their mother's got a prediction of what's going to happen. Solar flare, asteroid, earthquake, financial collapse, all this stuff. To get to Cliff's 81, it's 81 times the amount that was for 9/11, I think is what he was saying, something like that.
No, the 9/11, I believe, was 6 on the scale as opposed to the normal 2, and this is 81. So
massively bigger than 9/11.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And to me, it always gets back to, it's what I originally thought. The collapsing of the derivative market, which would affect every single human who uses money on the planet.
Right.
That's so much bigger than 9/11.
Right.
And everything else is kind of like, you don't really have control over. You do have control of getting assets in your own possession. And something that big has been on the back burner since we went on the Federal Reserve System back in 1913.
Right.
We have been planning for this, and the Road to Ruta documents made it very clear. Hopefully we'll be more ready than any other country, but in the documents there's like 65 questions that are unanswered about what happens when the old system fails, and this is coming from the Fed. Mm-hmm. Things like, okay, if we choose a gold standard, because we don't have to write new laws, we already have those laws on the books, just go back to our Constitution. But if we choose a gold standard, where do we get the gold? Is it private entities going to mine it, and all this BLM land? Is the government going to be mining it? And oh, by the way, Dianne Feinstein locked up 41% of the California gold country down there. Who's going to get access to that? Mm-hmm. And how much gold do we really have? Nobody really knows. So how do you value gold as what is the purchasing power of an ounce of gold if we don't know how much gold there is? So there's literally, there's so much work to do after the old system crashes. But the crashing of the old system is so important because it solves the number one problem in the world today, which is debt. There will be no more debt when this thing falls apart. I mean, very few assets either, but the debt will be gone, and that's the largest problem. It's unsustainable. Is it? Everybody says, "Oh, that's unsustainable." That means one day it won't be sustained.
Right.
It means it will go away, and one man's debt is another man's asset. So we are headed into a point that is going to be so much bigger than 9/11, and I think that issue is the collapsing of the financial system due to the meltdown of the derivatives.
Okay. Lisa, let me get your take on this too. So again, going back to this sensitive event, just in the last couple of days, again, here we're seeing all the truthers talk about this disease X coming back on this on the forefront here. Davos is talking about that. The World Health Organization is setting up for this new addendum to the power grab they tried a couple of years ago, where countries are asking to buy in and to basically forgo a lot of their constitutional powers in lieu of the WHO. We're having this constitutional debate in the States. Mr. T is on the ballot, off the ballot, on the ballot. So there's all of that. And on top of that, there's these crazy lists of people flying on planes to crazy islands coming out also. Do you think the event that they're looking at here is all of the above so that they can manage the narrative? Or do you think more like Bix here, that we're talking into that big event we've been talking about for years here, where something finally breaks here in our financial system, and then we enter into this brand new world? Lisa.
Well, gosh, are we on YouTube still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to get off that.
I can move off if you want. You guys want to do Rumble?
I'd rather be free to speak.
It would probably be a good idea if you really want me to say what I think.
Oh, I do want you. That's why I invited you. Okay, hold on, guys. So this is Rumble. Yes, let me bring that link back down here in the live chat. So, guys, if you're watching us on YouTube now, here's the link. And it's also going to be in the description box below the video here. So if you want to click that link and come and join us here on the Rumble feed here for the No Holds Barred conversation.